Money, 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 money. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody's got a price. Money, 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 money. Everybody's gonna pay. Money, 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 money. Hello there. The footballing world has always been a little money obsessed, but they've never made the leap into the bat crazy territory that we seem to be in this summer. Not only has the world record transfer fee been broken by almost double, players that used to cost around about the £30 million mark are now skyrocketing towards the £50 million mark. It's the first ever time in recorded history where you can legitimately say 50 is the new 30. So what is this frivolous spending doing to the rest of the football ladder? Is it spiralling out of control? Is the gap getting wider and wider? Yes and no. Let's start off with that crazy transfer of Neymar to Paris Saint-Germain. And the Parisians just saw an opportunity to marry a top 5 superstar in his prime to their brand, matching a release clause that, at least in the current market, isn't inconceivable, given the fact that Barcelona have shown in the past that they're willing to double, even triple release clauses in players' contracts over the course of a season. It just cost the tune of 220 million euros, you know, pocket change really. For the club and the player, it's a monumental move. The Brazilian is no longer under the big shadow of Lionel Messi at the Camp Nou, while the Liga side can finally feel that they sit at that top table with the European elite and fight for that Champions League trophy, so they don't really care how much that cost. Hello? Is that UEFA? Yeah, how does financial fair play work again? Hopefully the transfer of the 25-year-old will increase the visibility of Liga around the globe, increasing potentially TV rights that might trickle down to some of those smaller clubs in French football and give them a bit of a cash injection that they could really need. However, it could also convince teams like Barcelona and Real Madrid, who have to put release clauses in their contracts, for them to be exponentially bigger so this doesn't happen again. They could hold players, they could stop them from moving on because of these big clauses, and that could be a real problem to competitiveness, especially within their country. Or players could dictate that power, asking for lower release clauses so they have a get out chance if they need to. But also they could just, like Arsene Wenger said, run out their contracts more often, and we see much less transfer fees in the future. This having a knock-on effect to the rest of the transfer market seems a little unlikely, at least on previous evidence. Big money moves in the past weren't really followed up with giant moves of their own. But when you start looking at the prices quoted for Ousmane Dembele of Dortmund of around 150 million euros and Kylian Mbappe of Monaco believed around about 180 million euros even, you start to worry a little bit. Yes, this topic is a minefield. Give yourself a moment. Breathe. Let's go again. As for the Premier League this season, well, with the huge surge in TV rights over the past year, fees are going through the roof. You want my right back? £50 million. I actually think the fee on fullbacks is more of a reflection of their importance in the modern game, so it's not hugely egregious. Picking a team at random, Everton, let's take a look at their transfer business this summer. They got Michael Keane, Jordan Pickford, Sandro Ramirez, Henry Onyekuru, David Klaassen, Cuco Martina and Wayne Rooney for around about £88.2 million according to Transfermarkt. Admittedly, they got a strong return from Romelu Lukaku, Gerard Deulofeu and Tom Cleverley, adding up to around about £95 million. Not much of that was on Tom Cleverley, if you weren't fully aware. The Toffees are reportedly still also in for a deal for Swansea City midfielder Gylfi Sigurdsson for around about £50 million.
I actually think the Icelandic international is a quality player and is simply going for the current market value for that.
On paper, that's really quality business that pushes them towards those teams above them, if not challenge for those European places. But how can they sustain such giant transfer fees and be so competitive within the market? Oh, that's just TV money alone. That's not including shirt sponsorships, other sponsorships, prize money, merchandise, ticket sales, and all that other jazz. Just look at that table. Every single team that managed to stay in the Premier League last season earned at least £100 million from TV rights alone. No wonder they're splashing the cash. This impact is a little bit more substantial with.
And here I kind of got muddled, so I'll put it a little more bluntly. With prices in England going up, so have the fees for importing players from abroad. The clubs from Europe face the knock-on effect of being charged more themselves to replace those they have lost, yet they are taking a greater risk. Should a signing struggle to adapt or fail to meet expectations, it's a much bigger loss without the likes of TV money to replenish that lost revenue that they would have recouped from a sale.
In turn, teams in England might struggle to sell their players as well, not only because they might not recruit the transfer fees they're expecting, but they may have to pay a portion of their wages to facilitate a move, with teams from abroad not being able to pay the enormous amounts that the Premier League are at the moment. Parachute payments also start coming into play, especially when Championship clubs are paying £15 million for strikers.
I actually think this one isn't great.
That's where a real gap starts to appear in the Championship between those that have and those that have not. Those that have been in the Premier League within the last couple of years have lots of money to use in the transfer market, whereas those that have struggled to compete at that level have nowhere near the financial influence of others. And that narrow gap at the moment will become a chasm in the next few years. So smaller clubs will have to rely more on their academies, which is good. But bigger teams with better prestige and better facilities and possibly better coaching will continue to ignore theirs, which is bad. So if they have any good left over, they can send them to the smaller teams and they can play, and that's good. But then they'll return to their parent clubs and not get used, and that's bad. It's all a little bit hypothetical and chaos theory. It's a worrying trend, certainly, but rumours of football's demise are greatly exaggerated. It's here to stay, just with more dollar signs in its eyes. Money, 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 money. That's all for today. What do you think to the current market? Is it ripping your heart out, or is it just part of the game that we have to accept nowadays? Let us know in the comments below. Cheers for your views, and chat again soon.